everyone, it's Thomas here. So today is a room tour. We're gonna go check out Joe's system, and he owns Bose 901. Yep, Bose 901. I warned him, man, Joe, you better have your boxing gloves on because you know, 901 and audiophile, you know what people think of it. Now, for those of you who don't know, who don't follow 901, Bose 901, I'm sure there's a scientific paper written out there somewhere that explain and analyze in detail why Bose 901 speakers are not audiophile speakers. However, Joe assured me that he did some magic to it and they are audiophile level right now. Now in the video, I put it on screen at one point just for a few seconds as to why and what he did. So for those of you who listen only and don't watch, I'm just going to put the timestamp here right now so you can go check that part to know what the secret sauce is. I don't want to spoil it, so that's why I'm not saying it right here. You know, I actually owned two pairs of 901 at one point, and I remember one night my wife came down to listen to them and she said, you know what, Thomas, these are my favorite speakers out of all the speakers you own. I'm like, why? And she said, because there's no bass. I don't get headaches when I listen to these speakers. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's time to put my 901s for sale then. Well, joking aside, I had a lot of fun with it. It is definitely a fun speaker. It fills the room, and I can understand why for a lot of people these are fantastic speakers. So for those of you who are new to my channel, one thing I don't tolerate in my comment section is when people start making negative comments on other people's system. It's okay to disagree, it's okay to share your opinion, but please do it in a respectful manner. And I apologize in advance if I delete your comment because you wrote it in a very insulting manner. All right, so let's go check out Joe's system. I'm sure he's gonna win you over even though he has 901, because at the end of the video, he shares his passion for audio. And it's a great story at the end. All right, see you guys.
Hi everyone, thanks again to Thomas of Thomas in Stereo for allowing me to do this video on the Bose 901s and why I picked the Bose 901s. Main reason was I always wanted a set since I was a kid. Always was amazed that how can a bunch of full range drivers, seeing that I've always been a domes and cones type of person and always did homebrew speakers since I was in high school. How can these things make so much, you know, quote unquote nice music? Starting off, this is my what I believe are 1974 Bose 901 Continentals. Again, they're sealed box. A bit of my music collection here, mostly SACDs, DVD audio discs, various Mobile Fidelity SoundLab gold CDs, followed by some box sets of various vintages, Blu-ray, SACD, CDs, and I think there's a cassette one in there too. Next up is what I believe is my 1972 Bose Series 2 901 with the matching original pedestal, which are made in Canada, by the way. Next up is my favorite part. Starting off from the bottom here is two Hypex NCORE amplifiers. They were kits that a friend of mine built, and he lent them to me for my surround channels. Those are my Dynamics Amaron headphones, which I'm not a big headphone guy, but they were half price and it's good enough for me. Next up are three PS Audio M700 Class D amplifiers with Class A JFET input stages, designed by Darren Myers. Great sounding amps. I think the world of them. I'll put them up against any Class A B amp and even some Class A amps, believe it or not. The top two drive my left and right channels. The bottom one is for my center channel. And here's my pride and joy, my PS Audio DirectStream Sr DAC, and above it my Sony UBP-X1000ES transport / streamer / Netflix, Amazon, you name it. I love the thing because I can do pretty much everything that those high-ticket Oppo players used to be able to do for less than half the price. Above that is a power supply that I use to power my HDMI video to I2S breakout boards, which I'll show you in a second. Above that is my Sony STR-DN1080 AVR or receiver. It's DSD compatible. And above that is my fake Bose equalizer with 3 MiniDSP cards inside. They're all balanced boards. They feed the 3 PS Audio M700s. These are my 1968 resto-modded Bose 901 Series 1s, 52 years old. And then here's the other resto-modded 901. Again, the stands are not original. They're slightly higher than standard, but as you can see, for diffuse listening for the surrounds, they're just at ear height, and they do the job perfectly. The equalizer. I went with an analog equalizer after fiddling around with Odyssey EQ on my old Marantz receiver, which just did not cut the mustard. The factory equalizer basically gives you a bathtub curve where everything from 10 kilohertz on up to 15K is boosted about 18 to 20 dB, and then after 15K it drops like Niagara Falls. Again, this was their intention back in 1968, you know, whatever. On the low end, everything from 100 hertz down to 30 hertz is boosted 18 to 20 dB. And I was vindicated back in January of this year when I was invited to the Tucson, Arizona DIY Speaker Builders event 2020. And they'd given me a room. Everybody that came into that room was blown away, because as soon as they saw 5 901s set up in a room, you'd think there'd be a big hot mess going on. And people were just blown away, because a lot of these audiophiles, these guys are guys in their early 60s, early 70s. They just thought of the horror of going into a showroom back in the 1970s and 80s for that matter, and having some guy crank up these 901s and your ears are just going like this, that you can't stand it. And I knew there was going to be diehard audiophiles that basically wanted this thing to sound like crap. And everybody that walked into that room was blown away. I was playing 5.1 or 5-channel tracks. I was playing 2-channel audio, all lossless, no compressed crap. And people were just like, those are not the way I remember the 901s. I said, yep. But when I hear the stuff like no highs, no lows, it must be Bose, these guys had no clue what they're talking about. I love the sound. I mean, I can easily hit a nice clean 40 hertz with any 5 of these speakers any day of the week. The nice thing with the MiniDSP is I no longer have to worry about rolling things off above 15 kilohertz and below 30 hertz. Now I've got a natural roll off above 15K and a natural roll off below 30K. So the bass is even better, the treble's even more sweeter. The one key to my success with how these things sound is I have them away from corner walls. My sweet spot in the center is exactly in the center. So if I'm sitting looking at my center channel 901, when I listen to vocals, the vocals are smack dab in the middle. Anything that's on extreme right or extreme left is where they're positioned in the stereo spectrum. Anything that's center of left and center of right, same thing. So imaging, it's perfect. I like them. I'm going to be keeping them for a few more years. And it's kind of cool to say that I've got a pair of 50-year-old speakers that sound better than they did 50 years ago. So Thomas asked me to conclude the video with my passion for audio. So my passion for audio stems back to high school, just like most of us here. It started with a Pioneer receiver, a pair of Sennheiser HD40 headphones, a dual turntable, no speakers even. That was my rig in high school. But we could talk about DIY for the next hour. Anyways, let's fast forward to my passion for the 901s specifically. So it started out about 1.5 years ago. I saw a Facebook marketplace ad. Guy was getting rid of these really tattered Series 1 1968 901s. Finally, he brought it down to 500, and I'm like, dude, I'll give you 350. I'll be down tomorrow morning to pick them up. I drove down to Tucson the Saturday morning with my dog because my wife thought I took the dog just for a walk. By the time she realized that I was gone and the dog was gone, she sent me a text, where the hell are you? Just leaving Tucson, honey. Well, what the hell were you doing in Tucson? You'll see. So I brought these 901s home and she looked at them. Cigarette smoke smelling grills, water damage on the cabinets. The tulip stands had been touched up, you know, with touch-up paint wherever it got nicked and scratched. And I told her, don't worry about it. A couple of $100 later, I get the tulip stands powder coated black. I get custom-made acrylic panels to cover over where all the damage was. Obviously sanded everything right down, you know, past the veneer. Added some acoustically transparent grill cloth to replace the old crap, and you know, we're good to go. You know, I know a lot of us audiophiles don't let the wife know what I spent on it, but hey, bills are paid, everything's paid, don't worry about it. So fast forward a year and a half later, and in Tucson again, there was the 2020 DIY speaker builder event, which I know I'd already touched on earlier in the video. But part I didn't touch on was, this is where the passion part comes in. I loaded all this into a Golf GTI, 5 901s, the tulip stands, the 27-inch stands, the entire equipment, all the equipment you see in the rack here, plus the two NCORE amps, which I just returned to my friend recently. Everything went into the car. The plan was get to Tucson by 7 a.m., have everything set up and ready, not just my stuff, but everybody else. And then by 10 a.m., you know, the show should be, you know, everything should be running. And again, it was a great show. People just couldn't believe the sound that I got out of these. And the more I listen to them, the more tweaks I do to my setup. Recently, I've done, I use both HDMI to I2S inputs on this guy. And just every tweak, I can hear the difference, you know. And a lot of people think, well, they're 901s, how much better can they be? Well, they're not Focals. They're not PSB's top of the line or Paradigm's top of the line. But what it took to get these to sound the way they do, you literally would have to fly down here to Scottsdale, listen to it in my apartment, you know, or whenever we have a club event when Corona's over, come down to one of our club events, right, and have a listen. So again, thanks Thomas for, you know, letting me have my, you know, 15 minutes of fame or 10 minutes of fame, whatever you edit this down to. And that's it, guys. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.